I know, because they've offered me nearly $15,000 to do just that.
I went to your Twitter line because that's all you be doing is lying. We need to change your name to Carol and Brian because women like you is the reason why Emmett Till got killed, okay?
The woke people are fighting online again, and their tears are absolutely delicious. We're going to break down TikTok's latest political civil war and so much more on today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where I take on the craziest ideas from across our politics and across the internet from an independent perspective. Now, our story today starts with a TikToker named Madeline Pendleton, who I've followed for years because she is a self-avowed communist with more than 2 million followers, who also randomly simps for and defends and says that it's actually great North Korea? Yes, I'm serious about that one, guys, but that's a story for another day. Madeline is the villain of the internet, the villain of TikTok right now, because she recently posted a video alleging that the Democratic Party operatives offered her tens of thousands of dollars to post TikTok content that was pro-Kamala or anti-Republican. Take a listen to this original video, which set off a massive firestorm that I did not expect.
Did you guys know that the Democratic Party is paying people on TikTok thousands and thousands of dollars to make videos talking about how awesome the Democratic Party is? I know, because they've offered me nearly $15,000 to do just that, to try to take attention away from that whole genocide thing. And I also know because I've unfortunately had to follow mutuals who started posting content suspiciously in line with the pitches I received to do just that within around 48 hours of me receiving those pitches. And suspiciously, nobody is disclosing on TikTok that they are getting paid to make videos just like this. So, since nobody wants to tell you the Democrats are paying them thousands of dollars to talk about how awesome the Democrats are, I'm going to tell you, you guys should be aware that when you see videos like that, the Democrats are actively paying people to talk about how awesome the Democrats are.
So I saw this video before it blew up because I follow Madeline, and to me it wasn't particularly remarkable because this is just obvious. I mean, I've seen influencers who never cover politics or almost never talk about politics suddenly making videos about Project 2025 where they repeat the same talking points over and over again, or suddenly making videos talking about reproductive rights where they say the same few things over and over again. I've even seen them shilling for like Kamala's bizarre communist grocery store crackdown she's talked about, or other things that you know aren't organic. They didn't wake up one day and decide to talk about when their TikTok page is normally dedicated to them screaming about men in a car video. As somebody who's worked in both politics and content creation and the intersection of the two, it's just immediately obvious to me that there's been money floating around, including on both sides, by the way, including on the Democratic side, for influencers to put out certain talking points and messages. I didn't see how this was controversial for Madeline to point out, especially because she apparently, at least according to her, has received the offers personally, so isn't making it up. But a certain segment of progressive TikTok, particularly some notable Black TikTokers, lost their ever-loving mind at Madeline for reasons that really still aren't clear to me. In this video, a Black creator labels her a lying heifer and repeatedly rants about palm-colored people while gesturing to his hand, because that's normal.
About how awesome the Democratic Party is? I know, because they've offered me nearly $15,000 to do just that, to try to take attention away from that whole genocide thing.
You're lying, sis. The Democratic Party ain't paying and the receipts that you dropped on Twitter, because I went to your Twitter line. I went to your Twitter line because that's all you be doing is lying. We need to change your name to Carol and Brian because women like you is the reason why Emmett Till got killed, okay? Because women like you be lying and it's detrimental to my community. Stop lying, sis. You were offered a contract by Vocal, not the DNC, not the Democratic Party, not Kamala Harris's campaign, but Vocal. And do you know why? They said the reason why we don't want you to say Kamala Harris's name or not to explicitly endorse Kamala Harris is because they are non-partisan, non-profits. They cannot endorse anybody.
And of course, what would a TikTok hate video be without gratuitous accusations of racism?
Then your ass want to sit here and spend it talking about genocide. I have Palestinians in my family. Girl, your ass ain't motherfucking bounded by motherfucking blood. I'm sure that they married into your family. You just remind me of these racist ass people that will sit here and say, I'm not racist. I don't hate black people. I have black people in my family. Well, baby, that's about everybody. Because if you look at slavery, child, did you not know master used to go in there and sexually assault my mother ancestors and then have his mother children, right? While he continued to use them as slaves, enslave his own motherfucking mixed children. See, it's y'all. Y'all be pissing me off because y'all think because I live in a blue state, and I'm sure you live in a blue state, right? I'm sure you live in a blue state. You moved away from your racist ass family and you moved to a blue state where you thought it was going to be safe, rather than you doing the real motherfucking work and trying to convert your family, giving them the right information, trying to make them to be socialists, right? But instead, I'm going to do the easy thing and just move away and only show up when it's Thanksgiving and Christmas and during the holidays. You in Chapel Roman ain't no damn different from her motherfucking Republican ass damn uncle.
So, he seems stable and not at all unhinged. I mean, she made an allegation that Democrats offered her money to make videos, which, even if it was false, how did he seriously just compare that to white women who lied about being assaulted and got black men lynched? And how did we end up with a long rant about slavery? Like, the Delulu is off the charts. And this was a very popular video, but it was only one of many videos attacking Madeline, calling her a liar, accusing her of racism. Again, not really sure where that part's coming from, but take a listen to another video calling out Madeline.
Why are you lying? Ain't no Democratic Party offered you no thousands of dollars to stop it, man. And then I looked through your page. I was about to be like, yo, why don't you just post it on TikTok? If it's true, post it on TikTok. Then you gave a tired excuse as to why you ain't posted on TikTok, baby. We know why you ain't post those fake receipts on TikTok about no Democratic Party offering you thousands of dollars. Because if you posted on TikTok, TikTok would have ate you up like they eating you up right now. It's so dangerous when white people lie, bro.
So what's funny about this is she did post the receipts on both Twitter and TikTok. Here's her video showing proof of her claims.
I'm not sure why people decided that it was a lie that the Democratic Party offered to pay me nearly $15,000 to make videos talking about how awesome they were leading up to the election. I posted screenshots on my Twitter, but I'll post them here too, okay? This is what it is. One TikTok, $2,500. And if you're interested, they want to work together monthly. Every month leading up to the election. This pitch came in August, so that's 4 months. So that is $10,000. The company handling it is Vocal Media. Vocal Media, who is paid according to the Federal Election Commission by the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, which is a political committee dedicated to electing Democrats to the House of Representatives. Democrats who are running for the House of Representatives are part of the Democratic Party. I've seen some people being like, well, it wasn't the DNC or Kamala Harris. Yeah, it was not the DNC. I never said it was the DNC. I said it was the Democratic Party. And they are definitely the Democrats running for House of Representatives, part of the Democratic Party. I'm not sure why people have this like really narrow view of what the Democratic Party were. Some people are like, well, technically they didn't offer you money. Vocal Media offered you money. They pay Vocal Media to do their ad placements. It's their money. It's their pitches. And the pitches look like this. They're all about talking about what the Democrats are doing, how the Democrats are fighting for working people. This is one of the pitches. And I received a second offer afterwards from the same company for content, $2,500 to $3,500. So on top of the last $10,000, that's $13,500 I've been offered. And that's the one where they specifically said, do not directly say vote for Kamala Harris for legal purposes. It's not a lie.
So as far as I'm concerned, these receipts pretty much vindicate her story. I mean, she could have clarified that she got the money offer from a Democrat affiliated group that's funded by the Democrats, that's doing their media work for them and getting ads placed, that's technically nonpartisan. But I mean, when they're pushing ads in the build-up, undisclosed paid influencer ads in the build-up to an election, where they're specifically paying you to talk about how good Democrat policies are and how bad Republican policies are for the working class and for this country, that clearly is actually trying to get people to vote a certain way. And two, the fact that it's done through an intermediary, while I think Madeline probably should have clarified that, is standard practice and doesn't change the fact that it's essentially a Democratic front group. The money's coming from the Democrats and their actual branches and groups like the DCCC. And it's, yeah, I mean, the basic thrust of this story here, she was offered tens of thousands of dollars to say good things about Democrats in the run-up to the election by Democrats, is true. but all these people freaked out on her for over a week now. And I just showed you 2 videos of literally hundreds of people losing their shit and accusing her of being some evil white devil liar. The thrust of her story is true and not surprising. To be clear, I think Madeline Pendleton is a Looney Tune. She literally calls herself a communist and simps for North Korea. But I'm going to be honest with you and defend people when they're in the right, even if I don't personally agree with them or like them very much. And 2, this story matters because it shows you just the media and civic and news illiteracy that so many young people have online, especially the kinds that get their news from TikTok. Like, they're acting like it's some crazy conspiracy theory lie that people would ever be paid to post things around an election on social media. Babe, that's extraordinarily common. You guys don't know this? And also, Madeline has an important point that these influencers are required by TikTok's terms of service to disclose that these are paid ads, and then a little sponsored content badge is attached to the video, but many of them aren't doing that, and they're breaking the rules and getting away with it, and you can tell from the talking points and from the subject matter and the delivery that it is a sponsored video, but they're not marking it as such, as like they're supposed to. So she's raising a perfectly valid concern and pointing out something that's obviously true and real. Yet people lost their minds on her because apparently just supporting dear leader Kamala is the most important thing, and pointing out any inconvenient facts is simply not allowable. And again, threw these accusations of racism at her for literally no reason. It's just wild. And it's once again just this boy who cried wolf phenomenon of these people throwing around these accusations just willy-nilly, and in doing so, stripping them of their gravity and of their seriousness. And that's such a disservice to the actual people who still struggle with these issues and racism, and the people who are racist and do need to be held accountable, because now nobody takes you seriously because you throw around the word racism and racist like candy on Halloween. TikTok is such a bizarre and dark and ignorant place sometimes, especially when it comes to politics. But I do want to stand up for people when they're in the right, even if I think they're crazy. And I also want you guys to be aware of just how ignorant many of these echo chambers truly, truly are. What do you think of this wild story? Let me know in the comments below, and do hit that like button. Remember, I do read the comments and I pick a few to respond to in every episode. Plus, if you leave your comment with a super chat or a super thanks, I'll definitely read it on tomorrow's show. And now we've got to check in on CNN because the liberal network just exposed Kamala Harris's flip-flopping on yet another issue. That's right, guys. When you've lost CNN as a Democrat, you know you done messed up. But the glaringness of Kamala Harris's flip-flopping and changing her positions on issues is so extreme and so blatant in such a short period of time that even CNN is just compelled to point this stuff out. Take a listen to this clip with the K-File reporter from CNN explaining how Kamala has changed her views in just a few years when it comes to oil companies and oil production and climate stuff, from a super radical Green New Deal warrior to somebody who suddenly sounds very moderate on these issues.
Tonight, Governor Tim Walz cheering on the U.S. oil industry.
America's producing more natural gas and more oil than at any time in our history,
which echoes the same message that we've been hearing from Kamala Harris recently.
We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil.
But as our K-File reports tonight, this is a very sharp turn from where Harris once stood on this issue not so very long ago. And K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is out front. So, Andrew, pounding the table for the U.S. oil industry and oil production, but not the way it always was. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right, Aaron. And this really shows sort of just how far left that Kamala Harris got in that 2019 Democratic primary when she was running with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. She was making this extremely bold promise that she was going to take the U.S. oil industry, possibly criminally prosecute them for their role in climate change. She compared it to big tobacco, saying they knew the effects of climate change, but they hid it from the public. Now we saw there, fast forward to 2024, what are her and Tim Walz doing? They are touting the record domestic oil production from those same oil companies during the Biden-Harris administration. And well, how big of a shift is this? Well, take a listen to just one of those comments from 2019.
Will you order your Justice Department and your Attorney General to investigate Chevron and Shell companies for their part in and their damage to our planet in this climate crisis?
I'm saying about these big oil companies and these fossil fuel companies, look, you should be really prepared to look at a serious fine or be charged with a crime. And they need to pay the price. So yes is the answer.
And that's very different from obviously what we played in the intro here, but that was not the only time she made comments like this. This was very much a theme for her.
Once again, if you're a Democratic politician and you've lost CNN, you must have really, really messed up. I mean, we should briefly talk about just how insane this idea she was running on in 2019 and 2020 election actually was, criminalizing and punishing oil companies for their role in contributing to climate change when what they were doing was legal. So now she supported going back and prosecuting people for doing something that at the time, emitting carbon emissions, was perfectly legal. That's actually dystopian, babe. Now you could enact new policies and set new rules going forward and then fine or punish companies if they violate those rules. Sure, that would be normal standard business in politics. But to retroactively punish people for things they did that were legal at the time, yeah, that's actually insane. But even more insane is how she can go from supporting that a few years ago to now trying to sound like she's some big cheerleader for the oil industry. I mean, what the hell does this woman actually believe? She's flip-flopped just since 2020 in that election to now on dozens of issues. Everything from Medicare for all to the Green New Deal to fracking to literally so many things she's changed her position on, and often without any actual explanation. She doesn't talk us through her thought process. Well, my thinking evolved because I discovered this new information or anything like that. No, her campaign briefly replies with one sentence: the vice president no longer supports banning fracking, period. That's it. That's all she says. And it's like, oh, I mean, I tend to agree with her new positions more, but I'm still concerned by this flip-flopping, this inconsistency, because this woman is our current vice president. She could well be our next president. And frankly, on many of the issues that matter the most to the American people, we truly have no idea what the hell she actually believes or what she would do with power. That's frightening. People can vote either way, right? But they should at least know what they're voting on. And when you're so opaque and so unclear about your actual positions and beliefs, and you're constantly just flip-flopping with the wind, people don't really know that. It's hard for them to be informed voters, and that's really concerning. I will give CNN some credit for doing some serious journalism here and holding her accountable, even though she's a member of the Democrats and they hate Trump and all that. They did real journalism here and actually valuable good work. So shout out to them for that one. And what do you guys think? I mean, do you have a sense of what Kamala actually believes or would do with power? I sort of do, but on many of the specifics, not so much. And that's just not a good place to be weeks before an election. And now it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my daily segment where I take on the craziest ideas from the Clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
Today, this anti-Israel TikToker filmed themselves failing hilariously and committing a crime, and then uploaded it for the whole internet to see their ass in 4K. You genuinely cannot make this shit up. Take a listen to what you're about to see. It's a young woman tearing down flags outside of a restaurant.
Look at that shit. And I'm about to come back and put Free Palestine too. The Free Palestine, bitch. Look, what's she looking at? You know damn well there's a genocide. You know there's a genocide. Now stop it. I'm taking this shit down. I believe this one. Take this one down right here. What are they gonna do? They can't do nothing. I don't stand for it. I don't stand for it. I don't stand for this. There's genocide, and I don't stand for Zionism. And Montclair, I don't support it. There's a genocide. You know that, right? They're killing children. What's the purpose? Be proud of your heritage. Y'all understand there's a genocide, right?
Why?
You understand, right? There's nothing against people who are Jewish. But this is not okay.
This is Greeky.
Who's this?
This is Greeky.
What? Really?
Greeky.
Oh, I thought it was Israel.
It's
My
Greek.
bad. Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
It's a Greek flag.
Well,
look, it looked like Israel.
It's really not a
Okay, well, you want it back? Well, I did it already.
It's just not okay.
Are you sure? Let me look this up right.
Well, she seems bright. I mean, I have so many questions. First off, what is this new thing that people keep doing on TikTok where they record themselves committing crimes and then post it on the internet? Like, do you not see how that could possibly be a bad idea? Or are you trying to make the job easier for police by documenting the own evidence against you on your own TikTok feed? I mean, maybe they're just so confident that these days the police won't do shit for these kinds of small offenses. But I mean, that would be a whole nother problem. Secondly, how are you going to have such strong opinions on the Israel-Palestine conflict when you don't even know what the Israel flag looks like? When you mix up the Greek flag for the Israeli flag? Babe, at least open a book once before you yap on the internet. I feel like that's not too much to ask, but I constantly see people failing to meet that basic standard. And even if this was an Israeli restaurant, and it's absolutely unhinged and crazy that she thought it was an Israeli restaurant even though it was Greek, but even if it was an Israeli restaurant, that's still wrong. You can't go destroy someone else's property and vandalize a store because of their nationality. I mean, that's actually probably a hate crime under different state or federal laws because you're targeting them because they're Israeli. And just so you know, by the way, not all Israeli people agree with the actions of their government. And many Israeli Americans don't necessarily support what the Israeli government is doing in Gaza. So you can't just assume something about somebody because they fly a flag. The same way that if you fly an American flag and you're proud to be an American, doesn't necessarily mean you support everything that's happening in America or that our government is doing. You can't judge people like that because of their nationality. That's discrimination. And even if they were proud Israel supporters, you don't have the right to destroy their property. And it is entitled and psychotic to think that you can go up to a restaurant and vandalize it because the flag they're flying hurts your fifis. I mean, if you're allowed to do that and get away with it, pro-Israel people can go do that to any store that puts a Palestine flag in their window. Do you not see how problematic this is? Do you not see how harmful a Pandora's box that would be to open? And finally, I just have to talk about the thought process of not only doing this incredibly stupid and idiotic thing and recording yourself, but then deciding to upload it. This wasn't someone else recording her. She was recording herself. She stored this video on her own phone, and then she decided to upload it to her own TikTok account. Do you not realize that this makes you look stupid and ridiculous? Why would you purposefully embarrass yourself and beclown yourself like this? I mean, maybe it's just engagement bait. Maybe she's decided that making a couple hundred or maybe $1,000 off of viral TikTok is worth permanently going viral as a national embarrassment for looking like a clown in 4K. To me, the math there is not worth it, but I guess I can't relate to broke people's struggles. I just wanted to show you guys this video because to me, it sums up everything that's wrong with TikTok activism and the incentive structure of the modern internet. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I feel like regardless of how you feel about the conflict, you should be able to admit that this is wrong and silly, but do share your thoughts below. I do look forward to reading the comments. And now, before we wrap up today's show, I'll read a few of your comments you left on yesterday's episode. One person writes, "What comes to mind when you think of a, quote, gravy fried lesbian?" Nothing clear, and I hope that's appropriate and you didn't just make me say something inappropriate on the show. Another person writes, regarding the poll, this is about the Hitler Gen Z poll, since there are only 3 possible answers, it doesn't allow for any nuance, so we can't know exactly what someone is thinking when they choose an answer. While I'm sure some of them are grossly misinformed or neo-Nazis, there are other less frightening explanations. Some of them might have answered that way if they're anything like me, who believes that human beings are too complex to say any person has all only good or only bad qualities. Like, obviously Hitler didn't have any good political ideas, but maybe he did have some good ideas about art, as he was a painter. He also loved German shepherds, and loving dogs is always a good idea. Of course, he was still an unforgivable monster, and I hope he's burning in hell, but it's just too extreme to say that someone has no redeeming features and never had a good idea in their life. If the poll answers were phrased differently, I think we might see more hopeful results. You know, this is a fair point. Obviously, I didn't design the poll. But I do wonder, like, some people have said, well, Hitler actually had this one infrastructural innovation, and I so that was a good idea. So I'd have to answer yes. That's valid, but I don't think most Gen Zers who responded to this are familiar with that level of detail. Like, other polling shows a lot of them barely even know the basic facts about the Holocaust. So the idea that they were familiar with the granular level of everything Hitler did and they knew one or two good ideas, I don't think that explains most of them. And the other thing is, obviously, the polling did not leave room for nuance, but I feel like if you're forced to pick between irredeemably bad or had some good ideas, I personally wouldn't nitpick and say, well, I'm sure he had some good ideas, and just to be contrarian like that. Maybe that was some of them, but I do think the poll reflects at least some degree of genuine support for some of what Hitler stood for, and I do find that concerning. Another person says, I teach at high school in South Africa. I have come to realize that you may be a bad influence when I have to stop myself from saying, put down the crack pipe when I'm grading stupid answers in tests. Well, I don't think it's a bad influence as long as you make sure not to say that to any students. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Do hit that like button before you go, and do comment with your thoughts. I love to read what you guys have to say in the comments, and I do pick some to respond to in every episode. Plus, if you leave your comment with a super chat or a super thanks, I'll definitely read it on tomorrow's show. And with that, we'll talk again tomorrow.